Part 47. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 461. Suran. When enemies meet, they are extremely jealous. When Duguxian saw Suran walking out of the black prison, the hatred in his eyes almost overflowed. If Suran hadn't kicked him out of the Sky Star territory, he wouldn't have been laughed at and talked about behind his back. Now he, Duguxian, is a supreme elder, a person who has lived for thousands of years, and now he is almost becoming a disgrace to the alliance even if he doesn't say anything about it. How could he not hate Suran? Elder Dugu, do you know this person? The three old men behind Duguxian glanced at Suran, but their eyes moved back to Xingran behind Suran. To be precise, it was Queen Chica who was carried behind Xingran's back. Queen Chica is actually here. It really took no effort to get here. The three old men looked at each other and could see the surprise in each other's eyes. They were really lucky today. Not only could they kill the Thunder Emperor here, but they could also capture Queen Chica. Duguxian replied with a voice of hatred, "This is the Sky Star field where this person drove me out." When the three old men heard this, they looked surprised at first, but they immediately stopped smiling and frowned and asked, "Is this person the one who killed Emperor Kongtian with the Dragon Emperor?" "Yes, it's him." Duguxian nodded. "This." The three of them looked at each other again and had a bad feeling in their hearts. At this time, the Thunder Emperor heard the voice behind him and looked back. He didn't recognize Suran, but he still knew Queen Chica and her maid. I didn't expect that I would encounter you when I was on the verge of despair." The Thunder Emperor glanced at the unconscious Chica and suddenly beamed with joy. Fight. He decided to kidnap Chica and then hide in the Black Prison. If he can absorb Chica's origin in the Black Prison and help him break through to the Ninth Realm, then he still has a chance to make a comeback. God is really helping me. Lei Huang laughed and went straight towards Xingran. As for Suran, he simply ignored it. A boy who looks less than 20 years old, and whose body's power fluctuations are not strong, can pose any threat? Little did he know that this idea became the last question in his life that he couldn't figure out. Suran didn't give him a chance to get close to someone who was rushing towards him to die. As soon as Lei Huang took 2 steps forward, Suran's sword light had already slashed through his body. The Thunder Emperor paused in his steps, his eyes condensed, and then he looked down at his slowly splitting body in disbelief. Why? He didn't understand until his death that he was just a teenager. Why is his knife so sharp and fast? The body of the Thunder Emperor fell to the ground with a crash, shocking the 4 members of the Wushuan alliance. Although the Thunder Emperor had been seriously injured by them, the other party was still a strong man at the peak of the 8th realm. Just kill him with one knife? Elder Dugu, what state is he in? The 3 old men asked with some fear. I don't know either. Duguxian only saw Suran take action once, and that time he killed one of his elders and some members of the Wushuan alliance. And this is the second time. Xingran looked at the body of Emperor Lei and suddenly felt that this world was so dreamy. Her Majesty the Queen was forced into the Black Prison because of the Thunder Emperor's pursuit, and she is still unconscious now. As a result, Suran killed their great enemy in the Heesan Star territory so easily. Is this something that a queen's bodyguard can do? Xingran looked at Suran. She knew that Suran was definitely not just a guard. Let's go first. At this time, Duguxian suddenly said to the 3 old men behind him. Although he hated Suran extremely, he knew that he couldn't afford to offend Suran. The 4 of them working together are probably no match for Suran. The other 3 old men glanced at the body of the Thunder Emperor on the ground, and their goal was achieved anyway. They didn't want to provoke Suran either. So he nodded. But before they could leave, Suran stopped them. Wait a minute, where are you going? Suran took 1 step forward and appeared in front of them. What a coincidence, we meet again. Suren looked at Tuguxian and smiled. Lonely Xian stopped, concealed the hatred in his eyes, and then said coldly. Suren, we didn't provoke you, what do you want to do? Huh, really? Xingran, you said you know these three old men. Just now, Xingran sent a message in time to tell Suren. Three of these four people were the ones who besieged her and Chika together with the Thunder Emperor. Xingran pointed at the three people next to Tuguxian and said angrily. Suren, it was they who teamed up with the Thunder Emperor to injure Her Majesty the Queen. Seeing that they were recognized, the three old men secretly said something bad. Through Suren's actions just now, they had already seen that Suren was definitely a decisive person. If a fight breaks out, they may not be able to leave. Suren, I have nothing to do with them. This matter has nothing to do with me. Tuguxian was the first to jump out and clear up the relationship. This sudden stab made the remaining three people jump with fright. The two old men who were attacked took out their weapons and killed them. Don't bully others too much. Tuguxian took a step back and said coldly. Tuguxian. The two old men looked at the knife inserted in Chi Hai's abdomen in disbelief. I'm sorry, I don't want to die yet, so I can only ask you to die. They originally wanted to drag him into the water and take the blame together. The Sea of Qi is where the body stores spiritual energy. With these two swords, they were like deflated balloons. Suren smiled disdainfully upon hearing this. At this time, the old man surnamed Wu approached Suren quietly. He also wanted to repeat his old trick and use the same method to sneak attack on Suren. Seeing that the scolding was almost over, Suren stood up and said. Suren took back the knife and said calmly, if you don't cherish the opportunity given to you, what are you doing? When Tuguxian heard this, his old face turned red from being scolded and he couldn't hold it in any longer. Although these two swords were not fatal, they also hurt their roots. Tuguxian, you villain. Huh, it's originally a matter between you and Suren, why should I be involved? Now that they have been betrayed by loneliness, they no longer pretend. You bastard, do you want to clear up the relationship now? Although he shouted, the knives in his hands stabbed the two people next to him. The three of them glanced at each other, and Tuguxian suddenly yelled. Haha, it has nothing to do with you. Do you still need me to tell you about the dirty things your Wushuan alliance did? The three old men immediately yelled at Tuguxian. If you don't do it, I will have to do it myself. Can you guys start? Puff. Both parties exchanged all kinds of unpleasant words. Seeing both sides scolding each other, Suren watched the excitement from the sidelines with interest. Let's kill him together. I kill you. How about this? You all fight on your own. Whoever wins, I let him go. How about that? Suren, I told you that I had nothing to do with this matter, why are you holding on to me? But before he could take action, Suren had already cut him in half with one knife. You also heard that I did not participate in the siege of Queen Chika. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, how like the human world. Chapter 462. Suren crossed his arms and watched them killing each other with interest. Suren, why don't you just kill them? Xingran came over and asked doubtfully. Suren didn't answer his question, he could kill them with one knife. But he didn't do that. Since there was someone behind him who had been pushing and controlling his destiny, Suren suddenly decided to find another way to fight him. As soon as you get out of the black prison, you will see these people fighting at the door. In Suren's opinion, this is also a plot arranged by the person behind the scenes. The purpose must be to get him to kill them. But you asked me to kill them with one knife, but I didn't want to kill them. I just let one of them go and see if anything changes. If even this could not change the established route, Suren would accept it. The battle between the three men continues. Although the two old men were attacked by Duguxian, it was still 2 against 1. Soon Duguxian was no longer their match. "Stop, my son-in-law is the deputy leader, if you kill me, can you survive?" Duguxian had to move out his son-in-law to stop the two of them. "Haha, if I don't kill you, we still can't survive. We've already seen you unhappy." The old man named Song stabbed out with his sword, and Duguxian was no longer able to resist. Puff. Puff. There were 2 sounds of swords entering the body. The sword of the old man named Song was stuck in Duguxian's heart, and his eyes were full of hatred and unwillingness. The old man named Song also had a dagger stuck in his back. It was the old man next to him who had just taken advantage of the old man named Song to kill Duguxian with a dagger from behind. The violent spiritual energy shattered his heart. The old man named Song only had time to say the word "you" before he fell down. "Sorry, I don't want to die, so I can only let you and Duguxian die." Ba bang bang. Suren clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Wonderful, wonderful, really wonderful. I never expected to see such a good show." The last remaining old man pulled out the dagger and put it away, and asked, "Can I go?" "Sure, please." The old man got up and flew away, fearing that Suren would regret it. Suren didn't intend to kill him either. Looking at the old man who was about to disappear, Suren murmured to himself, "If I can't escape the fate you have arranged for me, then I will accept it." Xingran didn't understand why Suren had to let one go, but she also knew that she was not qualified to question Suren's decision now. "Suren, shall we return to the main star now?" Suren nodded. On the other side, after the old man from the Wushuan alliance flew for a long time, he looked behind him and found that Suren was not chasing him, so he felt relieved and escaped secretly. "I can't go back to the Wushuan alliance. If I go back, I will definitely die. I have to go to Tianyu to hide from the Wushuan alliance." After the old man figured it out, he looked at the direction and flew in the direction of Tianyu. As soon as he stood up, a silver-white fishhook suddenly flew over in the void, pulled by the fishing line. The old man was shocked when he saw this and wanted to hide. But no matter how much he dodges, he can't get rid of the fishhook. The fishhook accurately caught the corner of his mouth and pulled him back. The old man still wanted to struggle, but the next second he felt his eyes go dark and fainted. Vaguely, he saw an old fishing man wearing a bamboo hat walking towards him holding a fishing rod. As I walked, I was still mumbling, "We can't let this fish go. You're still of great use." Somewhere in the Wushuan Alliance's headquarters. In the White Palace, the deputy leader of the Wushuan Alliance and a group of elders were studying the matter of when to enter the Heaven Realm. Suddenly, a person quickly ran into the hall and reported. "Report. Deputy Leader, the life lamps of Elder Dugu, Elder Wu, and Elder Song have all been extinguished." As soon as these words came out, there was silence in the entire hall. Then the voice of Deputy Leader Zhao Yishu sounded. "What did you say?" Although what he said was calm, there was a hint of unnoticed anger hidden in it. Not for anything else, because Duguxian was his father-in-law. "Deputy Leader, Elder Dugu, and the others' life lights have been extinguished." At this time, all the elders in the hall started talking. How could this happen? Didn't they say they would kill the Thunder Emperor together? Can one Thunder Emperor kill them all? No, why are there only 3, and where is the other elder? While everyone was still wondering, another person ran into the hall and reported. Report. Deputy Leader, Elder Duanfeng was tied up by someone and dumped in the main hall square. Duanfeng was the one who escaped from Suren alive. Bring him in. Zhao Yushu sat in the main seat, but he was shocked in his heart that he didn't notice any strange movement around him just now. Duanfeng was caught and thrown to himself and others, but he didn't feel anything. The other party simply ignored all of them and came and went freely within the Wushuan Alliance station. The more Zhao Yushu thought about it, the more terrifying he felt. After Duan Feng finished speaking, the whole hall suddenly became chaotic. The crowd in the hall was furious and wanted to kill Suren immediately. Could it be that what I did was discovered by the hidden power within the alliance, so I was captured? Deputy Leader, I suggest sending someone to kill Suren to avoid future troubles. Go and kill Suren. This time it has nothing to do with me. I and the other two elders fought to the death. I admit that I was afraid of death, so I ran away alone while the two elders were blocking Suren. This way he still has a chance to live. There must be a secret in Duan Feng, maybe it's a secret this person wants to tell me. Duan Feng opened his eyes and found that he was tied up. When he looked up again, he had returned to the Wushuan Alliance's station. Elder Dugu had already said that he did not want to provoke Suren, but Suren still killed Elder Dugu. Zhao Yushu's lukewarm voice sounded in his ears. Duan Feng couldn't help but smile to himself when he saw everyone turning their attention to Suren. Deputy Leader, you must avenge us. Duan Feng was startled, broke free from the restraints and cried loudly. It's over. Duan Feng had already figured it out. Since he couldn't hide it, he simply put all the blame on Suren. Just when we were about to kill the Thunder Emperor, unexpectedly, Suren suddenly walked out of the black prison. Duan Feng explained everything. Elder Duan, didn't you go to kill the Thunder Emperor together? Where are the other three elders? He first killed the Thunder Emperor with one knife, and then set his sights on us. Duan Feng changed the last detail and took the initiative to add a reason for himself to be afraid of death. Wake him up. This boy is really haunting. I think he is deliberately going against our Wushuan alliance. After a while, the unconscious Duan Feng was carried in. It's Suren again. This guy deserves to be killed. Zhao Yushu ordered. I forgot about driving Elder Dugu out of the Sky Star territory last time, but this time I actually killed Elder Dugu. Someone in the hall immediately took action to wake up Duan Feng. And everyone in the palace, including the deputy leader, was looking at him. Duan Feng was suddenly shocked. What happened? Tell me. It seems like there is no flaw in the whole thing. Duan Feng could no longer calm down at this time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 463. Everyone in the palace was discussing how to kill Suren to boost the reputation of their Wushuan alliance. Only Deputy Leader Zhao Yushu looked at Duan Feng coldly. Elder Duan, are you telling the truth? Looking at Zhao Yushu's eyes that seemed to see through everything, Duan Feng immediately lowered his head and knelt down and said. Everything the Deputy Leader told me is true, not a single lie. Really? Lift your head and look at me. At this time, the discussion in the hall also quieted down, and everyone couldn't help but look at Zhao Yushu who was sitting on the throne. Don't know what he is doing. Is there something hidden? Don't talk. Watch for a while before talking. At this time, Duan Feng had cold sweat dripping down his forehead. He felt guilty and could not look directly into Zhao Yushu's eyes. Elder Duan, what are you hesitating about? Are you feeling guilty? Zhao Yushu's voice sounded again. Just when Duan Feng didn't know what to do, a woman ran in crying with several children. As soon as the woman came in, she ran towards Zhao Yushu who was sitting on the throne. Husband, you must find the enemy who killed your father and avenge the slave family. When Zhao Yushu saw this woman, he couldn't help but frown. Madam, how many times have I told you that this is a meeting place? What are you doing here? After hearing this, the woman immediately yelled. It's a matter of discussion. You know the matter of discussion. My father is dead. How can you be the deputy leader? You can't even protect my father. After the woman finished speaking, she cried even louder. Everyone in the palace didn't dare to say anything when they saw this. This was the deputy leader's real wife. They didn't dare to care about her even if they wanted to. They could only stand there and listen to the cries of the woman and a few children. "Madam, you go back first. I am investigating this matter. When I investigate clearly, I will give justice to my father-in-law." The woman heard this and said playfully, "What are you still investigating? I just heard it outside the palace. It was Suren who did it. My father must have provoked him in the Sky Star territory last time. He failed to kill him last time, so he killed my father this time. Send someone to kill him now, don't let him escape." "Okay, you take the children back first, I will use my own discretion." Unable to get the desired result, the woman immediately said angrily, "Well, Zhao Yishu, if my father hadn't helped you back then, would you be where you are today? Can you sit in this position of deputy alliance leader? You would have died in that heap of dead people. Now that you are developed, okay, your wings are strong, so you don't care about us anymore, right? My father is dead, and you are still here complaining. I see that you have no intention of avenging my father. You may be wishing that my father would die soon, so that no one can care about you, right? Ah! Just talk, you heartless thing." The woman scolded and tore Zhao Yishu's clothes. Everyone in the hall saw the scene and silently lowered their heads without looking. They all say that family scandals should not be exposed publicly, but I never expected to see the scene in the meeting hall. If they stared, it would be disrespectful to the deputy leader. "You." Zhao Yishu raised his hand to strike, but endured it. Seeing this, the woman yelled again. "Well, Zhao Yishu, you still want to hit me, right? Come on, try hitting me." Zhao Yishu sighed. It was the Dugu family who indeed saved his life back then, and Dugu Xian married his most precious daughter to him. He is what he is today with the support of the Dugu family. Therefore, he has always taken good care of the Dugu family, just to repay that kindness. Zhao Yishu tapped his index finger and knocked his wife unconscious. If she continues to make trouble, he, the deputy leader, will be completely embarrassed. Zhao Yishu looked at everyone in the hall and said in a deep voice, "Let's all disperse. We will discuss this matter another day. As for Elder Duan, he will be put in jail pending trial." After Zhao Yishu finished speaking, he picked up the fainted woman and several children and left the meeting hall. Duan Feng raised his head, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and secretly thought it was dangerous. If Zhao Yishu's wife hadn't come to the palace and made a fuss today, he would have been found to have lied. Zhao Yishu can sit in the position of deputy alliance leader, and he must not be underestimated. At this time, two elders came over. "Elder Duan, please. Don't worry, the deputy leader will definitely clear your name." Duan Feng nodded. When the two saw this, they inquired, "Elder Duan, is Suren really so powerful?" "Yes, his strength is at least at the early stage of the upper ninth realm." "Oh? It seems that if we want to kill him, we are not his opponents yet, so the deputy leader can only do it himself. It's just that the Sky Territory side is already urging us to hurry up. It's a long way to the Heesan Star Territory. I'm afraid the deputy leader won't have time to go." When Duan Feng heard this, he said regretfully, "Didn't that make Suren run away?" In fact, what he thought was that it would be best if no one went to find Suren. The reason why he described Suren's strength as being in the 9th level was because he was afraid that these people would quietly go to kill Suren for meritorious service. When the time comes, they only need to ask a few questions, and what he says will be full of loopholes. When the truth is found out, he will not escape death. Shika stood in the outer space of the main star, and behind her stood her maid Xingran. In the end Her Majesty forgot about him. The Liu monks on the main star ran away and died. Lei Huang died, coupled with Suren's strong attack. Shika, queen of the Hessen Star territory, has broken through to the ninth realm after waking up. Xingran released the imprisoned people and called on the queen's men who were hiding to begin a large-scale cleanup of the monks in the minefield. 2. The Thunder Emperor may have never dreamed that his Thunder territory would be annexed by the Hessen Star territory in the end. She officially ordered the conquest of Liu to avenge the bloodshed. Although the Liu monks barely won, they received a crusade order from the Hessen Starfield. But, it was impossible for him to see all this. Shika turned around, and a tear slipped quietly from the corner of her eye. At this point, the Thunder territory is under the control of the Hessen Star territory. After escaping back, they found that people from the Wushuan Alliance were looting their hometown, and they had to fight with the people from the Wushuan Alliance again. There's nothing we can do about it. After all, the overall situation is the most important thing. The two escorted Duanfeng away. Duanfeng nodded in agreement. Everyone in the hall discussed for a while before leaving. Let's go, Elder Duan, I've wronged you a lot these past 2 days, and we don't dare to disobey the deputy leader's order. On the main star of the Hessen Star territory, there was no leader on either side, and the minefield suddenly became extremely chaotic. When we take over the world, where can Suren escape? Your Majesty the Queen, do you really not remember Suren? It's okay. The deputy leader is always rigorous in his work. I understand. Shika gave Suren a star map to the sky, which she spent 3 days drawing. Xingran suddenly felt sad. Suren had done so many things for Hessen Star territory. The monks in the Lei territory had just experienced a big battle. When they saw this crusade order, they directly chose to surrender. The upper ninth realm that he had longed for was taken away by his opponent. I don't remember, let's go back. Without a leader, the Liu monks were driven out of the Hessen Starfield and fled back to Liu in embarrassment. Although, that was just what happened to a seed clone. The war lasted for several days, and the Wushuan alliance finally retreated because they did not have the advantage in numbers. In fact, if she really wanted to paint, she could finish it in half an hour, but it still took her 3 days to finish it. The two watched Suren leave alone. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 464. Suren flew along the star map, and after spending several days, he finally came to a sea. The sea in front of us covers the entire starry sky and is endless. No matter which angle you look at, you can't see the end of it. At this moment, Suren no longer saw any planets or stars in front of his eyes, only this golden ocean remained. Is this the spiritual sea that surrounds the heavens? It is indeed vast and infinite. Suren knelt down and picked up a puddle of sea water with his hands. The golden sea water immediately turned into mist and disappeared in Suren's hands. It's no wonder that the sky realm can become the center of the universe. The ocean formed by the gathering of spiritual energy alone cannot be compared to other places. However, Shika said that the aura monks in this spiritual sea cannot be absorbed directly. They can only be absorbed through the heaven domain and then fed back to the monks in the heaven domain. It's kind of magical. Suren did not choose to fly directly across the spiritual sea. Instead, he took out the star map and looked around, then flew along the seaside on his right. Half an hour later, Suren arrived at a port dock built on the Linghai Sea. This place not only has a port and dock, but also a city. Suren walked to the side of the big bow ship and asked the sailor-looking man who was busy scrubbing the barrels beside the ship. When will the ship leave? The man raised his head, glanced at Suren, and replied. 3 hours later. Then is there still room? I don't know. Go up and ask yourself. There is someone responsible for it? After finishing speaking, the man continued to clean the wooden barrel in his hand and stopped talking to Suren. Thank you. Suren jumped onto the boat in one step. The entire bow of the ship is very huge, about 100 meters long. There are 2 rows of jet black gun barrels mounted on the side of the ship, which are said to be used to prevent monsters in the spiritual sea and interstellar pirates. These ships are ships that travel between the heavenly realm and the outside world. They are mainly responsible for taking people across the spiritual sea. There is no direction to wander around in the spiritual sea, you will only get lost in it, and these people have mastered the correct driving route and can use this to make some money between the 2 places. As soon as Suren got on the boat, someone came over. Going to Tianyu? Suren nodded. What kind of ticket do you want? The ticket at the bottom of the ship is 5,000 spirit stones each. You need to squeeze in with other people. A private room with 50,000 spirit stones. I want a private room. Hearing that Suren chose a private room, the man glanced at Suren in surprise. He didn't expect Suren to be so rich at such a young age. Although 50,000 spiritual stones is not a small amount, Suren still has some collections. He does not want to be crowded with others. Most of the spiritual stones in Suren's hands were dug in Emperor Kongtian's cave paradise, and some were given to him by Zika before leaving. As for Haika, Suren knew that she had not forgotten him. Shika is a smart woman. She knows that Suren is going to the Tianyu. No matter how much she says, Suren will not stay in the Hessen Starfield. She couldn't follow Suren because Hessen Starfield needed her. Rather than being unable to make a choice, it is better to pretend to forget, so that everyone does not have to be so sad when parting. Suren handed over the spirit stone, and the man handed Suren a jade sign with the number 9 on it. This is the room ticket. Keep this thing safe. We are not responsible if it is lost. If you want to continue taking the boat, you need to pay the spiritual stone. The number above this is your room number. There are restrictions between each room. Anyone who is not the room's brand cannot enter. There is a spirit gathering array in the room for practice. Also, fighting is prohibited on the ship. Violators will be fined or have their tickets confiscated and thrown into the spiritual sea. Except for some off-limits areas, you can go anywhere on the ship. This voyage takes 7 days in total. You can go to the city to buy what you need before the ship leaves. After the man finished speaking, he pointed to the location of the cabin. The room is inside, on the 1st floor. I won't take you to find it. Just look at the number and find it yourself. By the way, are you sure you have reached the 2nd realm? This man glanced at Suren suspiciously. After all, Suren was a little too young. If you don't reach the upper 2nd realm, you will explode and die if you enter the heaven realm. I'm not bluffing you. Don't worry, I don't dare to go until you arrive. Well, that's good to know. Thank you. Suren nodded towards him and walked towards the cabin. There were not many people on the boat at this time. Suren glanced at the jade plaque in his hand, number 9. It means that 8 people have already purchased tickets for independent rooms, and there are also many rich people on this ship. However, it was still early to leave the ship, so Suren decided to go back to the room to practice for a while. His current cultivation level is almost at the peak of the lower 7th realm, and he will be able to trigger the 8th turn mission soon. This mission is expected to be quite difficult. After entering the cabin, Suren found his room in the order of the numbers on the room. After sticking the jade sign in your hand on the door will open automatically. The room is large in size, with a large bed in the corner, and the bathroom and kitchen are fully equipped. Beside the bed is a formation of 2 to 3 meters in size. This should be the spirit gathering formation that the ticket selling crew was talking about. Suren closed the door, and the noise from the outside world immediately disappeared. The sound insulation effect of this room is quite good. Suren sighed, it was indeed a voyage of 50,000 spirit stones. 5,000 spiritual stones definitely wouldn't have such a comfortable environment. Suren sat cross-legged on the spirit gathering array, took out the spirit stones and spread them aside and began to practice. While Suren was practicing, many people came on board the boat. Those who can get on this ship must be at least above the 2nd level, and there are many people who are above the 5th level or the 6th level. However, most people can choose the 5,000 yuan ticket when boarding the ship, but they cannot afford the 50,000 yuan private room. Not everyone is as heroic as Suren, who could take out 50,000 spiritual stones without blinking an eye. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye it's time to set sail. Wait a minute, I'm not on the boat yet. A handsome young man flew over quickly and stepped onto the boat. Call. Fortunately, I caught up, otherwise I would have had to wait for a long time. The young man patted his chest and said thankfully. You want? Just as the ticket seller was about to speak, the handsome young man immediately said with a smile on his face. Brother, can we have a discussion? The handsome young man took out a space ring and said. I only have more than 20,000 spiritual stones left. Can you arrange a private room for me? No. The conductor said firmly. Brother, you see no one is on the ship now anyway, so those private rooms of yours are wasted, so just give me a 50% discount. The conductor still shook his head. You can either get off the ship now or buy a ticket for 5,000. You, the handsome young man said helplessly. The only option was to spend 5,000 spirit stones and buy a lower class ticket. The ticket for the lower class cabin is not allowed to go to the upper class cabin and disturb the people in the upper class cabin. The conductor warned him. I know, I know. The handsome young man looked at the copper sign in his hand and muttered. I really don't know how to do business. I'll give you 20,000 spiritual stones for nothing. Oh, if I had known better, I wouldn't have spent so much money. Now I have to squeeze in with others. However, that girl is indeed smart and the money is well spent. The young man smiled, took the ticket and walked to the 2nd floor below the cabin. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 465. The handsome young man walked to the lower cabin and frowned and pinched his nose when he saw the scene inside. In the bilge of this ship, there are people from all walks of life. There was even a vague smell of feet permeating the inside. Not only is the lighting poor inside, there is also little air circulation. Oh, if I had known better, I would have saved some money. The young man sighed again, and could only find a place, brushed off the dust on the ground with his hands, and sat down. At this time, the ship began to move slowly. An invisible barrier fell and enveloped the entire ship. Under the golden ocean, the ship sailed towards the deep sea. On the spiritual sea, for some reason, there are also day and night. It's not that the sun shines, but that the light from the spiritual sea itself dims over a period of time. After a while, the Linghai began to brighten again, so that there was a scene of day and night alternating. The crew also calculated the travel time through the changes in light and darkness of the spiritual sea. In room number 9, Suren took a breath and opened his eyes. After several hours of practice, he finally reached the peak of the lower 7th realm. The system also dispatched the 8th turn mission at this time. Looking at the mission target, Suren suddenly felt a headache. Because the 4 things required are not easy to get at first glance. Collect the Time Pearl, Void Mirror, Destiny Spear, and Karma Sword. Suren only found out after asking Jingling that these other 3 things were legendary innate treasures just like her. Collecting 4 pieces at once is really flattering on him. Suren knew that this final step to obtain the Godhead was definitely not that easy. So far, Suren has only seen a quarter of the Void Mirror. Not to mention the other 3 innate treasures. He didn't even know what they looked like. When Jingling heard that Suren was looking for these things, he couldn't help but grinned. Actually, I can help you find them. However, I am still disabled now. You have to help me find the rest of my body. As long as I become perfect, finding them will be easy. Hee. That's easy to say. Where can I help you find your mutilated body? I do know where half of mine is. I just want to see if you dare to get it. Is there any place I don't dare to go? Tell me. Wandeo Immortal Palace. Haha, you are pretty good at picking places, so I'd better help you find the remaining quarter first. Suren was really not sure about Wandeo Immortal Palace. Even if you want to go, you still need to go to Tianyu to understand the specific situation of Wandeo Immortal Palace before you can take action. If you go rashly and they don't fight you head-on and attack you from a distance, you'll be doomed. The advantage of drawing a sword is to catch an opponent off guard. If the opponent discovers that Suren is not within Suren's field of vision, Suren will not be able to attack the opponent, and it will be difficult to fight. After all, it is the largest force in the Tianyu, and there are many capable people in it. It is not difficult to see through Suren's weaknesses. Therefore, if you want to go to the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace, you have to make long-term plans. At this time, Jingling spoke again. Actually, I know where the time pearl is, it was the one that broke me into pieces back then. No, it and that old man teamed up to break me. They also wanted to swallow me up to complete their big plan. If I hadn't run fast, I would have finished it. Then, where is the time pearl? Wandeo Immortal Palace. Suren. I really didn't lie to you. With your current strength, I feel that you are no match for them. Although I don't want to admit it, if the old man and the time pearl join forces, no one in the world can hurt him. The time bead can hide everything about the old man in the river of time. You can't hit his body unless you can also travel through the river of time. However, no one can travel through time except with the help of time beads. To put it bluntly, that old man plus the time pearl is invincible. No one is their opponent. The old man you are talking about is the master of Wandeo Immortal Palace. Jingling nodded. It's him. Then what do you mean, we don't have any chance at all? Of course there are still some. As long as you help me steal that half of the body quietly, as long as I reach the perfect state, you and I can fight them together. He can disappear in the long river of time, and I can hide you in the void. No one of us is afraid of the other. It will depend on who is more powerful, you or the old man. Back then, I was at a disadvantage because I was fighting alone, otherwise I wouldn't have been broken into pieces by their team up. Suren nodded. I see. But I have a headache now. Suren stood up and decided to relax outside the cabin. This dog system is deliberately working against itself. As long as this last step is completed, Suren only needs to upgrade his speech and skills to perfection. He can upgrade all skills to perfection. This is the first and last step to becoming a god. Of course, it is also the most difficult step. It is not that difficult to get the body fragments of the void mirror under the nose of Wandeo Immortal Palace. Everyone else can find a way to solve it, but the master of Wandeo Immortal Palace, who holds the time pearl, can't do anything. Oh, let's take it one step at a time. Suren came to the deck. It was already night in Linghai. There were many people on the deck, all lying on the side of the boat and curiously looking at the night scene. Although it was night, the spiritual sea still had a faint light. Suren walked to the side of the boat and looked down from the boat. He could even see some colorful fish swimming in groups in the spiritual sea. Suren was watching the fish below, when a young boy's voice sounded beside him. This fish is the most special creature in the spiritual sea called the nine-color spiritual fish. It is edible, and the golden one is the most delicious. These colored spirit fish have no taste and are only for ornamental purposes. The young man took out some meat from the space ring and threw it away. Immediately, swarms of fish began to rob. The handsome young man clapped his hands, patted off the meat residue, and then said to Suren, Ningfiu, don't you know your brother's name? Suren glanced at him and said calmly, Suren. It turns out to be Brother Su. I think it's your first time to go to Tianyu like this, right? Is there a problem? Ningfiu shook his head and smiled. It's okay, I just saw that Brother Su was alone here and seemed to be worried, so I came to ask more questions. Brother Su, how about we make a deal? What deal? Suren wanted to see what kind of medicine this man sold in his gourd. The sky is huge. If Brother Su doesn't have someone to guide him, he will definitely not be able to find Bei in it. It just so happens that Ning is quite familiar with Tianyu and can guide Brother Su. What do you want? Seeing what Suren said so directly, Ningfiu smiled slightly and said. I only have 20,000 spirit stones left with me. I originally wanted to live in the upper class cabin, but I don't have enough spirit stones. If Brother Su is willing to help. No. Suren rejected him directly. Tianyu is not a dangerous place, Suren does not need him to lead the way. Ningfiu lowered his voice and said. Hey, Brother Su, don't be too hasty to refuse. I have one more thing. I just heard it quietly from a superior room above my head using secret techniques at the bottom of the ship. This matter is related to your and my safety. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 466. Seeing his mysterious look, Suren couldn't help but ask casually as he had nothing to do. What can threaten your life and mine? Seeing that Suren was aroused, Ningfiu pretended to be mysterious and said. I can tell you about this matter, Brother Su, but Brother Su has to help me make up the price difference of the 50,000 spirit stones before I can tell you. Oh, I'm not interested anymore. Suren turned around and left. Hey, Brother Su, listen to me. Seeing that Suren was unable to make any progress, Ningfiu hurriedly grabbed Suren and changed his approach and said. How about I give you the money after I finish talking to Brother Su? Tell me the story. Ningfiu nodded and pulled Suren to the corner of the boat. I don't think Brother Su looks like a villain who doesn't keep his promises, so I'll say it first. Ningfiu said that he had looked around for a while, and then whispered. There are interstellar pirates on this bow ship. They are planning to wait for the boat to sail to the central area of Linghai in 3 days and then work together to catch us all. Oh. Then what? When Ningfiu saw Suren's unwavering expression, he couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth and roared. Brother? Did you listen to me? We are being targeted by interstellar pirates. So what? Ningfiu. In order to allow herself to live in a separate room, Ningfiu had no choice but to endure it a little longer. Brother, interstellar pirates, these people kill people without blinking an eye. They kill people after robbing wealth and sex. Are you not afraid at all? Suren shook his head. Ningfiu went completely crazy when he saw this. Damn it, is this a big-hearted person or does he have no idea about interstellar pirates? Is it because newborn calves are not afraid of tigers? Ningfiu had no choice but to stay in the lower class cabin. Seeing Ningfiu about to leave, Suren pulled him and said curiously. Why don't you tell the captain about such a big thing? Tell me what to do. Ningfiu sighed, we have boarded a pirate ship, do you understand? What I heard was the discussion between the captain of the bow ship and several of his crew members. I'm fine. After all, I can't even produce 50,000 spirit stones, and they won't keep an eye on me. Brother Su, you live in a first-class cabin. Do you think they will spare you? If you don't hand over all the money by then, they will definitely not let you go. I told you, Brother Su, just to let you jump off the boat and run away while it's dark. It's not very far from the shore now. If you keep flying back, you still have a chance to go back. After Ningfei finished speaking, he spread his hands and looked like you were left to figure out what to do. Suren laughed when he heard this and said, "Since you knew it was a pirate ship, why didn't you run away? I think you want to deceive me about the spiritual stone and then defraud me." After hearing this, Ningfei said with an indifferent expression, "Because I'm not afraid of them. I don't need to leave." "Of course, Brother Su, you don't have to leave if you don't want to. You can pay me to hire me to protect you, and I guarantee that you won't be harmed at all. How about that?" "Not really, because I'm not afraid of them either. But for the sake of you bringing me a piece of information, I can make up for the rest of the cost for you." Ningfei was delighted when he heard this. He didn't want to go to that stinking place again. He just wanted to take a good bath and find a big bed to sleep well. "Brother Su is very particular, I am determined to make you my friend. Seeing that you are doing well, I will protect you for free in the next few days without charging you any money. Thank you so much for taking care of me, Brother Ning." Ningfei waved his hand. "Hey, we are all brothers, we talk about these differences." Suren led him and helped him pay the remaining money, which made the crew member who sold the tickets take a closer look at Suren. They haven't seen this kind of rich master for a long time. Ningfei's room was number 23. After entering the room and looking at the clean big bed, Ningfei suddenly felt a sense of satisfaction. "It's great. There are not many people like me who rely on their wisdom to support themselves. However, this Suren is really rich. He pocketed tens of thousands of spiritual stones without blinking an eye. It looks like he has never been to the sky realm, and I don't know which galaxy he is a genius from." Ningfei thought for a while and shook his head. "Forget it, never mind it, bathing and sleeping are the most important things." The next 2 days were uneventful and nothing happened. Ningfei ran to the door of Suren's room and looked for Suren twice, but Suren ignored him. In the past 2 days, Suren has been observing his own little world. It was found that its expansion speed was faster, but the Hongmeng purple chi seemed to be smaller. After looking at the area of the small world, Suren estimated that it would be easy to fit a blue star into this small world. "I just don't know how far it will expand in the end." Suren observed the small world and ignored Ningfei. Ningfei felt bored and went back to the room to prepare for bed. But as soon as he lay down, he immediately got up, and then used secret techniques to eavesdrop on the sound. Originally, there was a soundproofing array between each room, so it was impossible for ordinary people to hear what the people in the next room said. But Ningfei's secret technique was just enough to penetrate this soundproof formation. You can even intercept the transmission of other people's spiritual consciousness. "Boss, it's almost confirmed. Number 1, 4, and 8 in the upper class cabin are all rich people, and their strength does not exceed the upper 6 realms. As for the boy number 9, I don't know his strength, but he is definitely rich. The guy in room 23 is a fat man. All his belongings were used to pay for the room. The other half of the money was deceived by the guy in room 9. We don't need to pay attention to this guy. He's just a poor guy." Hearing this, Ningfei became angry. "Fuck, I was underestimated. Dare you say I'm poor?" Ningfei was about to stand up, but then he glanced at his space ring, which was empty. "It seems like you are really poor, haha." Ningfei laughed to himself and lay back again to continue eavesdropping. "There are 2 people in the lower class cabin who are a bit suspicious. I think those 2 people may be pretending to be poor and deliberately sneaking into the lower class cabin." A medium thick voice asked. "Are there any masters in this batch of fish?" Back to boss, there is only one who has reached the 7th realm, the others are nothing to worry about. "Well, that's good. In short, don't kill anyone if you can." We only steal money. Boss, I don't understand. We have completely offended them. Why not just kill them all? Anyway, no one in Linghai knows that we did it. Humph, stupid. How do you know that there are no people from the big forces in Tianyu among this batch of fish? If you kill these people and let them find out the clues, you and I will both die if we are found out. You and I can't compete with the tracing methods of those big forces. Pretend to be a bit more like me tomorrow and don't show off your flaws. Yes, boss. It wasn't until these people stopped discussing that Ning Feiyu took back the secret technique. Hee, it looks like there will be something good to watch tomorrow. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 467. Boom. There was a violent shock, and the entire ship began to shake. After a while, the ship stopped. Suren opened his eyes and walked out of the door, just in time to meet Ning Feiyu, who was walking over and was about to knock on the door. Ning Feiyu blinked and gestured. Brother Su, the show has begun. Let's go out and watch the show. Ning Feiyu looked excited and seemed to like the scene very much. Suren naturally knew what good show he was talking about and followed him out. At this time, most people in the cabin walked out after feeling the movement. What happened? Why did the ship stop? I don't know, let's go out and have a look. A group of people walked out of the cabin and suddenly heard a shout. Everyone, listen to us, please come to the deck and stay there. If anyone doesn't come out, I'll be the first to throw him into the spiritual sea to feed the fish if I find him. When everyone walked out of the cabin and heard the sound, they realized that the huge pirate ships on both bows had forced their ship to a stop. At this time, a bald man with a scarred face was leading a group of pirates standing at the bow of the ship. Stand still for me. The scar-faced man held a big knife in one hand and stared at everyone coldly. Interstellar pirates. How did you meet interstellar pirates in the spiritual sea? Everyone looked at this group of pirates and thought to themselves that they were unlucky. I didn't expect that they would be targeted by interstellar pirates. This group of people is not a good thing. Robbery and murder are commonplace. The problem is that they like to wander around the interstellar world and live in no fixed place, so it is difficult to catch them. Shut the hell up. The scar-faced man's aura spread out, causing everyone's expressions to change. Later stage of the upper seventh realm. This realm is not something people like them can deal with. Besides, there are hundreds of people under his command. If a fight really breaks out, they are afraid that they will all be killed. Who is the captain? Get out of here. Following the scar-faced man's roar, a man with white hair walked out of the crowd with trembling hands raised. I am the captain of this ship. If you have something to say, don't do anything. Seeing this, the scar-faced man grinned and said, don't worry, our pirate group doesn't like killing people, we only steal money. Hand over all the fare you collected for this trip to me. You'd better be wiser, otherwise I can't guarantee that the knife in my hand will not see blood. The scar-faced man shook the big knife in his hand, and the iron ring on it made a rattling sound. Yes, don't kill us, I will give you all the money. The captain seemed to be terribly frightened and took out the space ring tremblingly. Crash. The deck of the bow of the ship was filled with spiritual stones. It's all here. The scar-faced man took a look, grabbed the captain's collar, lifted him up, held him up and said, old guy, you didn't lie to me, did you? No. I don't dare, it's really all here. Boom. The scar-faced man threw the captain aside and then looked at the others on the deck. Hand over the money honestly. If we say we won't kill people, we won't kill people. Don't risk your lives for that little money. In the crowd, Ning Feiyu and Suren watched this man's performance quietly. Ning Feiyu held his hands and said with a smile, Brother Su, don't tell me, These guys are pretty good at acting. If I didn't know their plan, I would have been deceived by them. Suren did not reply to him, but asked. This person is at the late stage of the seventh realm. The captain is the mastermind. He must be stronger. Is Brother Ning really sure of dealing with them? Ning Fei smiled confidently when he heard this. Brother Su, don't worry. It's more than enough to deal with them. Just hide behind me. She looked at his extremely confident eyes, and then looked at his age, which was not much older than hers. Suren was a little curious about which genius Ning Fei was trained by. It stands to reason that such a genius would not be short of spiritual stones, but it is indeed strange that Ning Fei can't even get 50,000 spiritual stones. Suren was not ready to take action. He wanted to see Ning Fei's strength. While the two were talking over the phone, the scar-faced man had already started pointing to the passenger closest to him. Come here. The passenger who was pointed out immediately shivered with fear, but he still walked over. Take out all your spiritual stones and belongings and throw them on the deck. Don't force me to do it. The passenger was forced to throw all his belongings on the deck. The scar-faced man smiled upon seeing this. Very good. I like obedient people like you. Go and stand aside. You are safe. When this person walked away, the scar-faced man pointed at the second person. No one dared to resist during the whole process, including the person who reached the seventh realm. On the way, one person wanted to leave something secretly, but the scar-faced man noticed something was wrong and grabbed him and beat him severely. Humph, do you really think I can't find it? Whoever dares to hide something like him will not be as simple as a beating. I say it again, if you want to die, just try not to listen to me. Next. Everyone walked over one by one and took out their belongings and put them on the deck. In a short time, the entire bow of the ship was filled with spiritual stones and other magical artifacts. It seems it's your turn, Brother Ning. Suren smiled and looked at the handsome young man beside him and reminded him. Ning Fei stretched and said excitedly. I haven't moved my muscles for a long time. Let's move them today to prevent them from getting rusty. After Ning Fei stretched, he took out a feather fan and walked over while fanning himself. When he was almost in front of the scar-faced man, Ning Fei suddenly asked. Everyone, have you eaten for lunch today? The scar-faced man was stunned, wondering what Ning Fei was playing. But he wasn't interested in knowing either. Boy, put down your belongings and go away. Don't make me beat you. Ning Fei shook his head and sighed after hearing this. Oh, that's rude. I asked you if you had eaten. If you don't answer, then you still want to beat me. I only like to beat others, but I don't like others to beat me. Hearing this, the scar-faced man's voice turned cold. Boy, do you want to die? Ning Fei raised his eyebrows and screamed strangely. How do you know I've always had this idea, but unfortunately no one can make me realize it. I just don't know if you can let me do what I want. As soon as Ning Fei finished speaking, the scar-faced man dropped his knife. If you dare to provoke him, he can't control that much today. He won't stop until he kills this kid. Ning Fei turned slightly, and the big knife struck the deck. A big hole instantly broke in the deck. Ning Fei shook his fan and shook his head and said regretfully. Tisk, tisk, the force is good, but the speed is too slow. If you had been faster, you could have cut me in half. Come on, you can do it. Ning Fei even reached out and clenched his fist to encourage the scar-faced man. At this moment, the scar-faced man felt a burning pain on his face. If you dare to taunt him, he will definitely break this kid into pieces. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 468. The scar-faced man raised his knife again and slashed out. This time, Ning Fei did not hide, but stretched out two fingers to pinch gently. The originally powerful and heavy sword was caught between his fingers and unable to move. The scar-faced man was shocked when he saw this. He wanted to draw the knife but couldn't. "It's boring. I don't want to play anymore." Ningfei waved the feather fan in his hand, and the scar-faced man was directly slapped into the spiritual sea with his knife. Second Master. The other pirates were startled, and then they all attacked Ningfei. The entire deck suddenly became chaotic. When the passengers on the ship saw this scene, not only did they not go up to help, but they took a few steps back for fear that the pirates would kill them. The captain narrowed his eyes as he looked at Ningfei who was killing everyone. He didn't expect that such a thorn would suddenly appear when it was almost over. Looking at the mountains of spiritual stones on the deck, the captain was considering whether to sneak attack Ningfei. Ningfei, who was surrounded by pirates, was now at ease and showed no fear at all. Every time he takes a shot, he can knock several pirates into the water. This made the other pirates a little confused. This man didn't hit hard, but they couldn't hit him, and they couldn't beat him. It always gives them the feeling that they can kill the person in front of them with just two more cuts. "It's boring. I won't play anymore." Ningfei waved his feather fan fiercely, and the violent wind suddenly rose, blowing all the pirates into the spiritual sea. However, his method was very subtle. The strong wind only targeted the pirates and did no harm to the passengers on the ship. Even the pile of spiritual stones under his feet did not waver. Ningfei laughed, walked to the side of the boat and looked into the spiritual sea. Still fighting. None of the pirates dared to fight him. This man was just playing tricks on them. The scarred-faced man looked at it unwillingly, and then flew to his ship with the pirates to escape. "Wait a minute, who asked you to leave?" Ningfei called them to stop. "What do you want?" The scar-faced man said angrily. "Hand over all your spirit stones to me, otherwise, no one will be able to leave." This guy actually started to resist robbery, which stunned the pirates. This was the first time they were robbed by someone else. "What? Don't want to?" Ningfei frowned slightly and slapped out a palm. Boom! A pirate ship was shot into pieces and scattered on the spiritual sea. This scene directly caused the captain who was preparing for a sneak attack to stop his actions. This guy didn't use his full strength from beginning to end. Even this time, it was just a light palm. They hit the wall. The pirates did not dare to say anything more now, and lined up one by one to place their spiritual stones at Ningfei's feet. When it was the scar-faced man's turn, he first looked at the captain, who shook his head slightly. This time, they admitted defeat. After all the pirates had paid their money, Ningfei said, "Okay, everyone, get out." After hearing this, all the pirates jumped on the remaining pirate ship and ran away. Ningfei looked at the things on the ground happily, then waved his hand and put them into his bag. I'm getting rich, now I can live freely for another month." As soon as Ningfei turned around, a passenger immediately stood up and said, "This little brother, can you return our spiritual stone property to us?" Hearing this, other passengers also spoke one after another. "Yes, most of the spiritual stones inside belong to us. You can't be like those pirates and steal our stuff, right?" Now the pirates are gone and all the passengers want their stuff back. Ningfei smiled when he saw this. "That's interesting, why should I give those things back to you? What I earned with my strength has nothing to do with you." At this time, the only person in the crowd who had reached the seventh realm stood up and said, "Little brother, are you going a little too far? Everyone has seen it. It was pirates who robbed our things and put them there. How come it has nothing to do with us? We just want our stuff back, that's all." Ningfei laughed loudly when he heard this and said, "It's a joke. The pirates robbed your things. You go to find the pirates. What does it have to do with me? You. What's the difference between your behavior and those of pirates? Yes, are you still shameless? I didn't expect you to be so shameless at such a young age. Today's young people are really becoming more and more shameless. Everyone was filled with indignation and accused Ningfiu. Suren stood behind the crowd. He wanted to see how Ningfiu would deal with it. You still have the nerve to ask, what were you doing when I was fighting pirates just now? Is there someone coming up to help? Why don't you hide behind and watch? What? I beat the pirates away, do you know how to get the things? Do you think I'm easier to bully than those pirates? Ningfiu snorted coldly. You want to kidnap me morally? Just dream, I don't have any morals. Ningfiu walked straight through the crowd. These people were all talking enthusiastically, but no one dared to stop him. After all, Ningfiu's strength just now was in front of everyone. They couldn't beat Ningfiu, who dared to stop him. Ningfiu walked up to Suren, smiled and took out a space ring and handed it to Suren. Brother Su, it contains your ticket money and the ticket money you helped me make up for. Am I generous enough? When everyone saw this, they started to criticize him again. These two people turned out to be a team. The two of them look so young, I didn't expect them to be so immoral. How shameless. Listening to the discussions around him, Suren was speechless. This guy did it on purpose. But who is Suren? He is also someone who doesn't care about other people's opinions. Don't take money from a bastard. Seeing Suren happily accept the space ring, Ningfiu was a little stunned, then laughed and said, Brother Su, you and I are really getting along better and better. When we get to Tianyu, I have to ask you to have some fun. I haven't met someone as interesting as me like Brother Su for a long time. After Ningfiu finished speaking, he looked at the captain, who seemed to be transmitting messages with his spiritual consciousness. After hearing this, the captain's expression immediately changed. Then he immediately called the crew, and then led the crew to the crowd and said, Everyone, this is not what we want to see happen, but the ship has to leave, so you should go back to the cabin first. At least your life was saved, right? Although everyone was unwilling, they had to return to the cabin. This has reached the depths of the spiritual sea, and even if they want to leave, they can't. After everyone entered the cabin, only the captain, crew, and Ningfiu Suren were left on the deck. The captain walked up to Ningfiu and bowed, Young hero, spare your life. Don't worry, God has good intentions for living, and I never kill. You just be obedient and sail the boat for me to send us to the heavenly territory. I won't embarrass you. Yes, thank you young hero, thank you young hero. The captain nodded and bowed, and stopped after Suren and the two entered the cabin. Boss, are you not his opponent? The captain shook his head. Stop asking, just sail the ship to the heavenly territory. We are lucky to be alive. Thinking of Ningfiu's words just now, the captain was still frightened. He never expected that the other party had such a big background. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 469. As soon as Suren returned to his room, Jingling's voice sounded in the small world. And he seemed very excited. Suren, Suren. What's wrong? Suren asked doubtfully. There are fragments of my body in Ningfiu's space treasure. And it's the quarter fragment. You sure? Suren was a little surprised when he heard this. I am sure. Just now when he walked up to you and opened the space treasure and took out the space ring, I sensed that my body fragments were in his space treasure. You try to grab the pieces. I understand, don't worry. Suren took his consciousness back into the small world. Looking at the ceiling of the room, Suren decided to go to the room where Ningfei was. No matter what, this time I have to use words and methods to get things. Suren left the room and walked to the door of room 23. Dong dong dong. Who? Ningfei opened the door and said with some surprise. Brother Su, why are you free to come to me today? Can I go in and talk? Ningfei nodded. Of course, please, Brother Su. The two entered the room and found a chair to sit down. Ningfei asked. Brother Su, what's wrong? Have. The moment he finished speaking, Surenyan activated his skills according to his abilities. Brother Ning, open your space treasure and let me see it. Ningfei's expression became dull at this time, nodded, and opened the space treasure. Suren took the opportunity to probe in with his spiritual consciousness, and sure enough, in a black box in the corner, Suren found a quarter of the void mirror fragments. Looking at the exquisite packaging of the box, it was obvious that Ningfei knew how precious this thing was. Suren just wanted to take out the box, but found a white jade pendant nearby. On the jade pendant, there are 4 characters 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace engraved on the front. On the back is the word Holy Sun engraved on it. Looking at the jade pendant, Suren immediately gave up his original idea of taking away the box. Suren took back his spiritual consciousness, and at the same time, he also took back his ability to speak and speak. After just such a short period of control, Suren felt that less than half of his mental energy was consumed. Ningfei's strength was much stronger than Suren imagined. Forcibly controlling these powerful monks with words and spells will consume more mental energy along with their cultivation level. Brother Su, if you have anything to say, just tell me. I will definitely help you if I know anything. Ningfei seemed not to know what was going on and said to Suren with a smile. Oh, it's nothing. Isn't this my first time going to Tianyu? I want to ask Brother Ning about things in Tianyu. I see, that's easy to say. What does Brother Su want to hear? Suren asked casually, I want to know about Wukingju Palace. Hearing this name, Ningfei was obviously stunned for a moment, and then said curiously. Why is Brother Su interested in Wukingju Palace? Could it be that, Brother Su, someone you like has entered Qingwuju Palace? Suren nodded slightly. So be it. Seeing Suren nodding, Ningfei became even more curious. What do you like about that woman's appearance? How old is she? When did she enter the Ruthless Palace? Brother Ning, does this have anything to do with the question I asked? Ha, I'm just curious about that. Ningfei said seriously. What kind of news does Brother Su want to know about Wukingju Palace? I want to know where the Wukingju Palace is. How strong is their palace master? This. Sorry Brother Su, it's not that I didn't tell you, but I can't answer either of your 2 questions. Didn't you say that you know a lot about Tianyu? Ningfei smiled bitterly when he heard this. Brother Su, you don't know something. The Wukingju Palace is located in a small world, and the location of the small world changes at any time. Except for themselves who know where it is, it's impossible for anyone else to know. Also, let's talk about Luo Yuxian, the master of Wukingju Palace. Who is that person? That's someone who can discuss matters with the master of the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. How can I, an ordinary person, know her strength? Suren said unwillingly, is there really no way to know the location of Wukingju Palace? Seeing Suren being so anxious, Ningfei thought about it and said. It's not impossible. I do have a friend. She must know where the ruthless people are walking around. When we get to Tianyu, you follow me and I will take you to find her. But what? Ningfei shook his head slightly and said, Brother Su, it's not me who is attacking you. It is impossible for a person who enters the ruthless palace to remarry. No matter how affectionate you are, it's useless. Unless you can beat Luo Yuxian and steal people from her, I advise you to give up. Su Ren shook his head and said firmly. Ning Feiyu shook his head not to think about this, but looked at what he had just gained. Don't you think this is a waste? Every time I think about it, I feel like it's not worth it for them. Oh, how is that possible? What reason? Su Ren, why don't you take back my body fragments? Don't you already have him under control? However, he still felt that something was wrong, but he just couldn't remember it. Jingling said curiously. Brother Su, although I don't think highly of you, your affectionate appearance is on par with mine back then. Jingling couldn't understand why Su Ren gave up in the end when he could get a quarter of the body fragments so easily. Actually, I also hate the inhumane rules of Wuqingju Palace. After Su Ren left, Ning Feiyu's eyes returned to normal, and then he carefully checked the room. After finding nothing abnormal, his consciousness entered the spatial treasure. No matter, let's see how much money we made this time. Forget it, I must be overthinking it. Now it's fun, hee. Looking at his appearance, it seems that someone he really likes has been captured and taken into the ruthless palace. Hey, Brother Su, don't leave, I haven't finished speaking yet. Ahem, Brother Ning, I'm going back first. Ning Feiyu waved his hand. I didn't take it away just now. Of course I have my reasons. I'm committed to your friend. Seeing Ning Feiyu intoxicated, Su Ren coughed lightly and said. I just don't know what the relationship is between Brother Su and the ruthless Ju Palace. Seeing Su Ren like this, Ning Feiyu also sighed. So many beautiful women cut off love at a young age. Why do they want to practice the ruthless way? Su Ren didn't wait for him to finish speaking, he had already stood up and left here. You can't beat him, can you? Thank you very much, Brother Ning. I won't give up, I will definitely save her. How about we discuss the top 10 beauties in the heaven together? Don't worry, brother, I will fully support you. Oh, I feel pity for them. My lifelong dream is to help those young and beautiful women escape from suffering and enjoy bliss. Looking at the black box placed in the corner, Ning Feiyu felt relieved. After Su Ren returned to the room, Jingling immediately jumped out and said in confusion. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 470. Because, he is the holy son of 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. Hearing this, Jingling was obviously stunned for a moment. This man is the holy son of Wandao Immortal Palace. But it doesn't look like his behavior, does it? That is the most powerful force in the world. How come their holy son even wants to pay for the boat trip to deceive you? Moreover, he took away all the passengers' money in front of so many people. This is too. Isn't it too inconsistent with his status? When Su Ren saw the jade pendant, he thought it was fake at first. However, the aura fluctuations coming from the jade pendant are definitely not something that ordinary people can hold. Plus the void mirror fragment in Ning Feiyu's hand. It is very likely that he received a mission from someone to search for the void mirror fragments outside the sky. There is also his invisible strength, which proves that his identity is not simple. Besides, who says that the holy son of Wandao Immortal Palace cannot have this appearance and virtue? A hero may not necessarily be a handsome and graceful person, he may also have an average appearance with a fat head and big ears. I think there is no problem with his identity. Maybe his name or appearance is fake. But, Jingling asked, even if he is the holy son of Wandao Immortal Palace, does it have anything to do with us taking away the fragments? Of course it's relevant. Do you remember that you said that half of your body is in the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace? If Ning Feiyu is really the holy son of 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace, we can use him to help us get the other half of your body. Only in his capacity can we successfully complete this matter. If I had taken away the void mirror fragment just now, he would have noticed it. Although I am not afraid of him, I would have missed such an important opportunity. So, we have to wait. I know, I didn't realize that you are quite cunning. Suren rolled his eyes when he heard this. This is called wit. No wonder you were beaten to pieces in the first place. I think your brain is not working very well. Humph, I. Jingling, I haven't been able to come up with a good explanation for a long time. The rest of the journey became much calmer. However, Suren and Ningfei were resented by the passengers. Wherever they go they will be quietly pointed out. But the two of them didn't care. After the ship sailed for 7 days, a vast and boundless continent finally appeared in front of Suren. The majestic spiritual energy also hit his face at this time. Compared to the auras found elsewhere, this place is heaven. Is this the heavenly domain? It is indeed huge. Hey, Brother Su, this is just a glimpse. The entire sky territory is divided into 5 major regions. The location we are currently in is called the Southern Territory. If you use the flying magic weapon to fly with all your strength in the entire Southern Territory, it will take several years to fly from the south to the north of the Southern Territory. Even I haven't visited all the big cities in the southern region. My lifelong dream is to travel all over heaven, eat all the delicious food in heaven, and see all the beauties in heaven. I have no interest in practicing or anything like that. After hearing this, Suren laughed and said, Brother Ning's dream is not bad. If I have the chance, I will definitely be like you. Ha ha ha, let's go together then. Good. By the way, Brother Ning, they all say that the heaven realm requires the upper second realm to enter. What about the children born in the heaven realm? They can't be in the upper second realm when they are born, right? Actually, I don't know much about this. I just heard that those fetuses have been accustomed to the environment of the heaven realm because their mothers have been living in the heaven realm during pregnancy, so the restriction of the upper second realm has no effect on them. But these babies are different from those outside. They are born in the lower 5 realms. Usually you can break through the previous level when you are about 10 years old. Their starting point is much higher than those outside the heavenly territory. While the two were chatting, the ship had docked. Finally reached. Brother Su, let's go, I'll take you to a fun place first. The two got off the boat and flew toward the northeast. Seeing the two people leaving, the captain urged the others to get off the boat quickly. After everyone got off the boat, the captain immediately ordered people to leave. He didn't dare to stay for even one breath longer. Brother Ning, where are you taking me? Didn't you say you would take me to find someone who knows the ruthless Zhugong? Brother Su, don't worry, we have been struggling on that broken boat for so many days, now we have to enjoy it when we get off the boat. Don't worry, I promise to help you do what I promised you. After the two flew again for half an hour, Ningfei frowned. Arrive. A city full of aura appeared in front of Suren. Viewed from a high altitude, the city is scattered with people and looks very lively. Brother Su, let's go down. Ningfei and Suren landed at the city gate. The soldiers guarding the city stopped them and said, Stop, pay the toll, 1,000 spiritual stones per person. What? Ningfei's voice rose an octave. You guys are robbing, you guys, last time I came here, it was 200 spirit stones. If you love it, it just went up last month. If you don't want to pay, don't stand at the door. When Ningfei heard this, he immediately laughed and said, Brother Bing, can you pay less and give me a discount? We go to the city to consume. No. I don't care what you do in the city, you're not allowed in unless you pay. TCH, I'll pay you, okay. Ningfei took out 2,000 spirit stones and handed them to the soldiers guarding the city, and the two of them entered the city proudly. After entering the city, Ningfei complained as he walked. "It's so annoying, Brother Su, we have lost more than 1,000 spiritual stones. It makes me sad just thinking about it." Suren said a little strangely. "Brother Ning, didn't you just earn so many spiritual stones on the ship? Do you care about these 2,000 spiritual stones? Eh, you should save money if you can." After Ningfei finished speaking, he lowered his head and frowned. "The tolls are getting higher and higher now. It seems that the situation in Tianyu is not good." "Brother Ning, what's wrong?" "Oh, nothing." Ningfei shook his head. He quickly took Suren to the city. The two walked straight forward, passed through the crowd, and finally came to a several-story wooden building. Suren looked up. Beiwa Tower. At this time, a group of scantily clad women immediately surrounded the two men. "Hey, you two young masters are so handsome. What are you looking at outside? Come and sit inside." "Brother Ning, you brought me to a place like this to enjoy." Ningfei nodded. "Hey, Brother Su, is there a more beautiful place in the world than this? Stop being reserved, come with me, and let us save their lonely souls together." Ningfei strode forward, hugging the girls from left to right, and sprinkled spiritual stones on the girls' chests as if they were free of charge. In just a moment, Ningfei had already scattered tens of thousands of spirit stones. This grand move made all the girls scream in surprise, and their voices became much sweeter. When Suren saw this, a black line crossed his head. "Is this what you mean by saving as much as you can? This is where you came from, right?"